So hello, welcome back to Gourmet's Coins and Banknotes, and today we are showcasing the 1993 $10 banknote. This is the second polymer banknote that was issued in Australia. The first one was in 1998, but this is the first one that was issued over multiple years. So the last print of this one was 2015, and that's the one you're going to be finding in the actual two generation banknotes, so the old one and the new one. And the 1993 is a very interesting banknote. So you can see that this one looks quite blue, and that's because the actual color that they used for the major overlay, so the last print. So we're talking about the portrait, the background of Mary Gilmore, and also the actual horse and the actual car itself. On the other side, we have Banjo Patterson and the actual horse. And this also includes Australia and the actual writing to the left. And this side also includes the signature. And another thing it includes is the denomination itself, so 10 on both sides. And it is quite heavy. So these ones I have here, it looks like a lot of it is actually been filled in, so it's probably used quite excessive ink for the actual print run. If we look at banknotes that were issued later, you can see that the color is fairly different. So this is called the blue and grey Dobell. So the actual portrait is of Mary Gilmore, but it is called the blue and the grey Dobell because it was a portrait by Sir William Dobell. So that's why they give it a different name. If you say blue Gilmore, grey Gilmore, it does sound okay, but just the Dobell is actually stuck with it. But that's not the only thing that's actually has a different color, also the denomination. So the things I just said before, Australia, as well as the oxen and the actual card itself and the people. And when you look at it very closely, you can see that there is a lot more finer detail on the actual grey Dobells than the actual blue ones. Now, not all of the blue ones actually have this heavy print. A lot of them actually are still blue, but they have finer print like in these ones. Now, another thing that happened with these ones is because of the heavy ink, they seem to have smudged. So if you get one that's smudged, it could be post-print damage, in which the printing afterwards has just smudged the actual blue. And then you have these 10s on both sides. So we've got the 10 there, you can quite clearly see it in the camera, and here. So that could be either one of two things. It could be when the actual banknote is printed, and it is, so we've got that 10 there, it laid on top. Could be there is an ink transfer, but you would need to actually do a little analysis close up to see if there's actually ink on it. Or there's another thing in that the ink is quite heavily on this side, and because there's so much ink and the print is, the white doesn't really stop it from showing through, so the actual color of the blue comes through the banknote. So that also could be another theory. And look on this side, I am of the opinion in that it is the actual ink coming through. So if you look closely at the actual banknote, I just don't see any ink. Could be. Oh yeah. Yeah, looks like there might be a little bit of an ink transfer. But I reckon that it is actually a combination of both. So ink transfer as well as the heavy ink been going through the actual banknote, so it didn't have time to dry before. Yeah, it looks like it might be somewhat of an ink transfer. Yeah, so it didn't have time to dry before the actual banknote was placed on top of each other for the actual security feature. Now, if we look at the yellow itself doesn't seem to have been changed, although they might have reduced the actual amount of ink on that one as well. So, and the greens, nah, so this pattern here and there looks pretty much the same. So really, that is the major feature that you can find on these banknotes. Now the blue Dobell for 1993 is actually pretty common. It's the most common banknote you're going to get. But apparently there's also the grey Dobell for 93, which I've actually never seen any of them for sale. And in 94, you can actually, when I do a video on 1994 banknotes, we'll have a look. You can actually find the blue and the greys, but I've actually never researched that, so I'm not too sure which one is more common, or even if they are actually common. But apparently in 1994 they changed the color from this blue because of the problem with the ink to the actual grey, and they're stuck with this to 2015. Okay, just a shout out. If you want to read an article on the blue and the grey Dobell, go to Sterling and Currency and put in blue and grey Dobell $10 banknote. You come up with this article. Okay, so as for how many banknotes are printed, you see 93 we've got AA to KE, and the KE is the scarcer prefix for the last one. Nearly 916,500 were printed, and the other ones have that first prefix has 10,000 shine 1 million, and the other prefixes have 1 million. So basically it's a high print banknote, so it's going to be very common, not unusual for a first year of issue. And it explains why next year they printed virtually not that many, and 95 they didn't print any at all. So if you look on eBay, you can see that these banknotes are actually very common. And we've got 113 results for the actual search criteria that I've put in the banknote in the search engine. And you can see if you click on them, you see the majority of them, or all of them, are the blue Dobell type. So this one here. Okay, let's have a look at. Okay, here we have a 93, and that doesn't have the heavy ink that we got on it, but it still has the blue Dobell. It's another one, 93 for $52. Also not as heavy as the ink I got. So they seem to have played with the quantity of ink on these banknotes now. I'm not too sure what prefixes had the heavy ink and the light ink, but in general it seems that the later prefixes seem to have less ink on the actual banknotes. And probably, let's have a look at 93, 98. You can see the differences in the actual color, in the actual print. Okay, so I found a KD 93, and it seems to have heavy ink on the actual banknote. Then we have another one, so this is the last prefix, KE. Doesn't seem to have the heavy ink on the actual banknote, and that one is for sale for $150. I'm not surprised about the price. Then we have 2AB, and it doesn't seem to have the heavy ink. It seems to have medium ink, so probably not as much or as little as the other banknote. So this will be interesting if someone wants to actually study it. Then we have this banknote, no serial numbers, But the signatures are Fraser and Evans, so that could be a 94 or a 95. Not 93, 94 should I say. And the price is $2,000. Okay, so as for what the 1993 sell for, you can get good ones for about $20. Circulated one, not really worth putting on eBay unless it's first and last prefix. Got first prefix for $63, $150 for this last prefix note. So yeah, KE, and then we have other ones, and they all look like the blue Dobell. I don't see any of them that are sold are actually grey. Some of them just have less ink. This one's 93 and a 98, so you can see the colour difference on those two. $75. Yeah, $30 for this uncirculated one. So pretty much about $20 to $30 for uncirculated. First prefix 125, last prefix 150. So really, there's another last prefix, and these last prefixes are circulated. So if you wanted to get an uncirculated one, you're probably paying quite a few $100s for one of those last prefix banknotes. Anyway, and then you got, yeah, that's about it. So not too many sold, but this is something you should actually look for. Yeah, so when you're looking at the banknote, the blue Dobell, you check the color, and you see if it's a grey or a blue Dobell, and also always check the serial numbers to see if you've got good or bad numbers. The first prefix AA, last prefix KE. So the last prefix, this is scarce one. It's worth a lot more than the first prefix, as well as anything else like any smudging on the ink as well. So I hope this helped you if you're Australian banknote and coin collecting. Let me know what you think of this banknote. It's actually quite a nice blue colour. I like it better than the actual grey Dobells. These seem a bit dull, and the actual blue Dobell stands out a bit more. Thank you very much. Have an awesome coin banknote collecting time, and take care.